up, guys? We're back. Me and Will.
It's been a little bit. We've just been busy people, But like I said, we're trying to get on here as much as we can. So here we are.
Back.
I got a little guide this week because last time, I'm not gonna say it wasn't pretty, but we just couldn't come up with things to say. So I got a little bit of a guide for us. So movies. Let's talk a little bit about
movies.
About Christian movies and how they're a great way to think about different situations in like Christianity.
Okay.
So me and you both watched God's Not Dead in between last time we filmed and this time. So I'd just like to speak a little bit about that. Like, what impact does that have on if somebody's trying to test your faith? Like, that movie is crazy, isn't it? Like,
Yes, it is. It actually is crazy, like truly. And so, like, if now from watching that movie again, like as saved,
yeah,
it made like more of an impact because it was like basically reassurance. Like even though like I've been saved and that's like the ultimate reassurance, but like those types of movies and that movie in particular is like really big in assurance because like it's all like the title is God's Not Dead. So like just that going through my head and like as I was watching that movie and like reading that title over and over again, it was like that's like the ultimate assurance and like that showed me like that he's not dead and that he's going to be risen again and come save us one day.
Absolutely. And when I first watched that movie, I was little, so I didn't really understand. I was just kind of like, well, you're dumb if you think God's not dead. But after you watch it, certain parts in that movie, after you're saved, and I'm not trying to say this in like I don't even know. I'm not trying to sound mean when I say this, but certain parts of that movie kind of make me mad as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
When the teacher's not even letting him talk about his belief, and he's just like, well, he's not alive. There's no such thing. Well, I feel like God's Not Dead is a great movie to watch if someone is testing your faith, for one, but especially if you're going to college. There's a lot of these professors out there that will try to tell kids. I mean, I don't speak from experience, but I've been told there's a lot of professors that will try to push things on you, and you just have to be careful. So watch that movie if you're going to college and you have a strong Christian faith and you want to be protected of beliefs that could be pushed on you that you don't want to believe. That's a very good movie. And then also, I didn't watch The Blind, so try not to spoil a whole lot for me. So try not to spoil a whole lot for me. But how would you like to talk about that and how it like impacted you? Because I know a lot of people say it's a great Christian movie. It's a great movie. It just moves people. But I haven't seen it yet because I don't have Prime Video. So
I mean, any movies like that is a great movie, but like you see like these movies that are like God's Not Dead or like the resurrection or the death of Jesus Christ on the cross. Those type of movies are like fully on like him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This really wasn't like on like Jesus, so like I would classify the ending like there's a certain part in the end that's like strictly Christian, but I wouldn't like it's not like all about like the whole throughout movie like about like all that kind of stuff.
So I guess you could say
it's more like a is that called a biography of Phil Robertson?
Yeah, I guess you could really say it's like, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm asking you. It's a way to get people that aren't in the Christian audience
Mm-hmm.
which is really good. And I haven't seen it, so I can't even express my feelings about the movie. But that concept in itself is amazing.
Yeah.
To make a movie to where it's about people that people loved to watch on TV for years. I mean, there might be people that loved duck hunting but never heard about Christ before, and they watch that movie, and then they see the end and they see the impact that Christ had on Phil. So like, it's just an amazing concept. Another movie that is really good in the Christian faith, and I can see it already, and I'm not even a father, and this is like strictly, I'm not going to say strictly, but it's a movie to help impact fathers on being a good Christian father, and it's courageous. That movie is one of my favorites, and it's just an insane impact. It's all of these fathers, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's all these fathers, and some of them are real strong in their Christian faith and some of them aren't, and they each go through different situations where they feel like they're not doing a great job. So they kind of make this pact to be as strong and as good Christian fathers as they can be, and it's just an insane movie. It's the best impact ever. I mean, you'll just have to go watch it because I don't want to spoil a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it is just insane. I'm surprised that it wasn't a bigger box office hit than it was.
I know.
But then after that, they did have Fireproof, which was a bigger movie because it had
I forgot to watch that movie.
what's his name? Candace Cameron Bure's brother. What's his name? Kirk Cameron. It had him in it. Which, if you don't know who that is, he was.
I don't know actors.
He was like big in the 80s and 90s. His sister was the one that played DJ in Full House.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just like crazy. If we eventually grow this, I want to have the creators of all those movies on here. That'd be so sick. Another movie that I'd like to touch on, which is kind of the biography, not really Christian movie, but it had an impact on me, and I don't know if it had the same impact on you, but it's a movie about our first grade teacher's
Woodlawn?
dad. So
Yes.
if you've never seen Woodlawn, the Tandy Gerald's, the football coach, is actually he's not played by our teacher's dad, but it is about our teacher's dad, like our first grade teacher's dad. That movie is about him and how the Christian faith moved the whole football team. And basically it's just like, it's insane. And I'm not saying it's insane because that was my teacher with dad. That's just another part of it. It's just insane because of the movement that God had. Because
in different ways and how he works.
Because I'm not going to say that football team sucked, but they were going through a lot, and they didn't think they were going to win as much as they did. And then this preacher came to speak to them, and once he did, a lot of them got saved. And they ended up going to state or something, right?
So,
Like,
I think
yeah,
playoffs.
they went pretty far. What is a way you've seen God work this week?
Well, the eclipse.
I mean, you could say the eclipse, or you could talk about our friend, if he's comfortable with that. I definitely see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we had this friend, and he was texting me one night, and like me and Will and him have like me and Will are trying to like we've been trying to like push, like not really like push, but like
introduce him.
Yeah, introduce him and advise him to like Christ and stuff. And one night he was texting me, and his uncle is actually a preacher, and her husband, or his wife, used to teach at Deshler in like second grade, and it was Miss Malone.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
that was like a relation.
Yeah, that's his aunt.
Bro, just the connections with our stories and the teachers at our schools.
And so he
That's
was
crazy.
His uncle was talking to him about salvation and getting baptized and stuff, and me and him have talked about it outside of me, him, and Will, and we sometimes talk about it every day. We usually do that, and he texted me one night, and he was like, "So, I have something to tell you." And I was like, "Well, what's up?" And he said, "Me and my uncle were talking about salvation and getting baptized earlier today, and he sent me this video, and it was like this guy was like saying all these questions or whatever, and he was like, I understood all those questions, and like I said yes to every single one of those questions." And then his uncle said, "Well, you're saved, man. All you need to do is just lock it in with being baptized." Because he said, he used the greatest analogy I've ever heard, and he said, it's like a wedding ring. When you put that ring on, you and your spouse are married. So when you're baptized, what we believe is, when you're baptized and you're fully submerged in the water and brought back up again, that old man in you has died, and you're locked in with the new man, and you're locked in with God and Christ and your salvation and everything, and you're on the new walk to heaven.
Definitely. And the whole analogy thing, I feel like if you find a good analogy that works to explain stuff, it is very helpful. I found an analogy that kind of worked. I kind of came up with it in my head, and it was to explain to one of our little buddies that's in one of my classes, because he doesn't really understand. And we were learning about the Holocaust, and he said Hitler deserves to go to the devil's place. That was his words. And I said, well, don't we all? And he said, so you're saying you deserve to go there? And I said, I mean, I'm not worthy of going to heaven. I said, you can think of it like this. Think that you've taken your driver's test. Just imagine you've taken your driver's test like 6 times, and they forbid you to take your driver's test. But then one day, some guy goes, hey, I got this Lamborghini, and I'll give it to you for free. Do you think you deserve it? You don't have your driver's license. You can't drive. Do you think you deserve that Lamborghini? Do you think you deserve that Lamborghini? But let me ask you this right now. It's either driving the Lamborghini or walking. Which one are you going to pick? So then I kind of explained it the same way as like, well, it's either you accept Jesus and ask for forgiveness, kind of like how that Lamborghini is. You either accept it or you can walk with the devil.
I saw this quote a couple days ago, and it was like, when you're with the Lord, you're running, but when you're with the devil, you're just moseying on along or walking.
Well, yeah, like there's tons of analogies that we could go through with that. And the analogy that I used, I didn't even, like, I was coming up with it when I was talking. I was just explaining it to him, and somehow I got through to him. And he just kind of looked, and he was like, so you're saying all I have to do is ask for forgiveness? Right? And I said, well, you have to believe that it's the truth.
Yeah,
you have to believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and life before you accept him. And then he kind of just, like, we didn't really talk about it much more, but I knew it got to him. And me and another one of our buddies kind of just looked like this. I was like, I can't believe that analogy worked. But then there's other analogies, like I talked about, like on George Janko's podcast, he said he heard an analogy, and it's God comes to your door and he knocks on your door. He's like, hey, can I come in? Hey, can I come in? But the sad thing is when he's knocking on your door and he's waiting for you to answer, he can hear the devil crawl through your window. And that's just insane. That like got to me when he said that. And it's just crazy. So like if you're trying to explain something to somebody and you're not quite getting through to them, don't just leave it alone. If they have questions, try to find an analogy that works, because it's really helpful. Because if it's somebody that's not grounded in like reading their Bible and all this, and they're just like, they're not gonna understand. If you're just like, he's the way, the truth, and the life, they're gonna be like, well, what the crap does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, so finding analogies is really helpful. What's a happy part of your week so far? Or it could be since we filmed the last podcast, because there's a lot that's happened.
Well, going to church Wednesdays and Sundays,
Definitely
my happy place. And then getting to spread the gospel with my buddies, and we're a good Christian group, and we talk about God every day. So I like to have that. Like, I like to have him every part of my day.
Yeah. Definitely. And part of the thing about sharing is like I used to not like to share at all. Like, I was embarrassed if people were looking at me. And then we have this thing at school. It's called First Priority. And this last Wednesday I shared. I was telling my story like how I told on here on the last episode with me and Harris. And at first I was kind of nervous. Like, I was like a little bit shaky. But then as I got this telling it, it was like, well, like, why would these people judge me? Maybe this is a story they need to hear. Maybe this is a story we need to hear. And after that, I had several people tell me I did a good job, or several people tell me that was an amazing story. I don't know if I could tell a story as good as you. And I said, well, don't compare. I said,
yeah, they're all great.
I said, everybody has their own story, and you're not supposed to compare them, because my story might reach somebody that's been through a thing similar, and your story might reach people that's been through a thing similar to you. So it really doesn't matter. And then also it depends on who's telling the story, because some people are good storytellers. Like, some people could make jokes in their story, and like one boy was telling me, I don't even know what this had to do with somebody's story at church, but he said it was a little kid. He got up there to tell his story, and he said, some people like their chicken baked, some people like it fried. Let's ride, before he started telling his story. And it's just like stuff like that. It's like you can implement tons of different things in your story to tell your story, and it just be an impact on anybody, because you could be funny, you could be serious, you could be goofy. It could be a story to reach a certain group of people. It could be a story to reach everybody. So don't compare when you're telling your stories. That's the main thing. And I just have fun with it. Like, I know you have to be serious, and you can be serious and have fun with it. Like, I want to have fun when I'm telling my story. Like, if I stay up there and I sob, like, that'd be impactful. But are people really listening to what I'm saying, or are they judging me because I'm crying? Like, because I'm sobbing up there. Like, you can just have fun with it and be like hand movements. I know that's a big thing for some people. I do hand movements, and I don't even mean to when I'm speaking. But, like, whatever you can do to grab people's attention if you're telling your story, that's a good thing. What's a not so great part of your week?
Well, going to school.
Yeah.
Having tests.
Dude. Something about when you come back from spring break, you just don't want to do any work.
Ready to film these podcasts every week.
I'm trying to think of a not so great thing.
Well, we don't really have much to worry about because we're grateful.
Yeah, I feel like, it's just like schoolwork right now. I'm just not feeling it, you know. What's a funny story? What's a funny story?
Let's see. Well, when who texted us in that group, I told him, I said, now your job is to this struck me as funny. It just like made me laugh a little bit, and I said, your job now is to tell people of the good works of Christ, and he said you better believe it.
yeah.
That just made me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah.
That was funny to me.
I got a funny story, and it's not really like related to anything, but I'm gonna tell it. You hadn't heard it, and I bet you'll die laughing.
Okay.
So earlier I was scrolling on my phone, just like trying to, because sometimes I'll like scroll on my phone and I'll try to find things to do for shorts or do for whatever. And I was scrolling, and then all of a sudden I hear a flutter, and I look next to me. Like, I tell you, we're in my living room. I look next to me, and I see a bird fly up and land on my TV.
In the house? That's crazy.
My mom went to take out the trash when she went out. The bird flew in.
Oh,
there was a bird flying all around my living room earlier, and we had to open the door and run it out. So yeah, that was a funny part. And then what's another funny part? Because I had another funny story that I was going to tell.
You know the easiest way to get a bird out of your house is turn all the lights off and then open one door and it'll see the light.
I wanted to go out the door because it flew into the door, but when my mom got there to open the door, it wouldn't go, so then I had to chase it out. We also have our email. It will be in the description. You can ask any questions. We've had one person ask us a question, and it was about temptation.
Okay, gotcha. I remember this.
Now, I'm not going to speak too heavily on it because everybody is tempted to do different things. But I will say, one of the root things of temptation nowadays is your phone. And you might be like, oh, what the crap are you talking about? I love my phone.
No, it's not.
It gives me tons of things to do. But listen to this.
There's
Okay?
so many
It
bad
doesn't matter
things.
what you're trying to avoid.
It's gonna
Social
pop up.
media and your phones are gonna like tempt
Make it-
you.
they're gonna make
Because
it go.
let's say I'm trying to eat right and do a diet. Well,
There's
what
this
if I'm
really
scrolling
big
on
cake
YouTube
on
or TikTok?
TikTok.
Yeah, there's like a big cake, or there's like wings with a bunch of sauce all over them, or a
Chocolate
cheeseburger
donuts.
that's like cheesy and greasy all over. Like,
And they smash the bun.
tell me that's not gonna tempt you.
Mm.
Like, we have this sub, and he's a funny guy, and that's kind of what made me realize this when he said that, like, he'll just be sitting and subbing, and his wife will send him pictures of what she sees on TikTok of these foods from different places, and he's like, well, do you have the recipe? And she's like, well, no. And he said, well, now I want to kill you. He's like, you can't send me a picture of something and not have it for me to eat. And like, that's like the same with anything. Like, if you're trying to do good about not looking at the outer appearance and judging people, well, there's going to be TikToks of people making fun of other people, and it might tempt you to laugh, you know, or it might be like you're trying not to think awful thoughts, and then a pretty girl pop up on your TikTok. Like, I mean, like, it's gonna be, it's gonna tempt you. Like, your phone is gonna tempt you all the way. Your phone is like a magnified version of real life, and I don't like that. And I've seen where tons of different friend groups have done this one rule, and I want our friends to do it, and I know me and you could probably do it, but I don't know if some of them could. It's like when they go out to eat, they all sit their phone in a pile in the middle of the table. Because
I could do that.
Because I mean, it's just whatever you're doing, social media amplifies it. I mean, half the people that are on social media are fake. And I just started up a new TikTok to kind of promote some of this and do some of my own like goofy things. But like, when I did it, I told myself in my mind, I'm gonna be real on here, like how the podcast is gonna be. Like, if it's, I'm not gonna use any fake like pictures of me, like flex my jawline or something. Flex my jawline or something. Like, it's not gonna be thirst traps. So I did a teenage dirtbag thing, and it was just all goofy pictures of me, because I mean, that's who I am. I'm goofy, and I'm gonna let people see that because I don't care now. So it's just like, if you're tempted, for one, I'd make a time of your day to, instead of looking at your phone and staring at your phone, maybe turn on a movie or a show.
Maybe take a nap.
Maybe watch one of those movies like me and Harris were talking about earlier that's just impactful towards Christianity. Or maybe exercise. Exercise helps. Read your Bible, pray. Just, if you are starting to feel tempted, I say lay down your phone for at least an hour and a half. Or more, I mean.
2 hours max.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just...
The dog's back.
Back for episode 2, buddy.
Back for episode 2. We've had Easter since we were last on the podcast, and I did do a Good Friday episode talking about the impactful words that our first grade teacher gave me when I asked about Good Friday. But I thought we were going to do an episode sooner, so I said we'd talk a little bit about Easter. It might be a little late, but let's talk about Easter a little bit.
Let's talk about Easter.
So, what do you think of when you think of Easter?
Chocolate.
See? Chocolate. That ain't good, man. That ain't good. You ever hear think about chocolate?
Them temptations got to me.
What are you supposed to think of when you hear about Easter?
Jesus and Christ, the Bible, church.
Yes. So, I'd just like to talk about that a little bit. It's like
The tomb.
these people that are trying to like overproduce Easter and make it something that it's not. Like, I'm not saying don't have egg hunts or don't eat chocolate or don't do that.
It's gonna be hard.
At the same time, Easter is not all about an egg or all about a bunny or all about an egg hunt. It's about Jesus rising from the dead, and ultimately showing that he was the one true God. And if he didn't rise from the dead, then where would we be right now? Like, the dying on the cross for us is one thing, but
the rising again,
to prove it, he did the ultimate thing of just like, yo,
he locked it in with rolling that stone away.
So guess what, guys? I'm right here.
Gotcha. Peekaboo.
And we talked about in Sunday school. What do you think, like, Mary Magdalene was thinking when when she got there and he just wasn't there?
I think she probably thought somebody stole him.
Well, this is kind of how I felt about it, and I felt like that she thought it was her responsibility to make sure the guards were doing what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know, when she was bebopping up to the tomb, she was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell them they doing it. I'm gonna tell them how to do their job and everything." Like, she was just like, I feel like, not trying to say that she was bossy or anything. I just feel like that's how it worked. Like, she was like, I better make sure they're doing their job right. And then when she got there, they weren't. And I feel like she put it on herself.
Yeah.
I feel like it's how, like, I was as a kid when I'd be on a Dollar General aisle and then my parents would disappear. Then I'd start crying.
I'd run.
I wasn't crying because they were gone, which I was crying because they were gone, but like, I was ultimately crying because I felt like it was my fault. And I felt like, in a way, she kind of pushed that on herself, being her fault.
She probably did.
Then I just kind of like to think of scenarios of, like, we don't know what was going through their head. Can you imagine? They're just all weeping. They're like, man, Jesus is dead now. What are we going to do? And then he's like, yo, what up? I'm in the corner.
Right here.
I'm right here. Or like when they were having that, having the meal, and they had the bread and wine, and then they realized it was him. You know how funny that would have been? He was like sending them a sign. He's like, yo, before you eat that bread and wine, look at me. I just think it's funny.
I'm right here.
Yeah. So like, all of that stuff is crazy. Think about that stuff. But like I said before, you have any questions? Our email will be in the description.
Yes. Please email us.
Yes. Please.
It's dry. Come on, please.
I mean, questions, thoughts that you want us to speak on, prayers. We'll pray for you. We don't have to announce that on here. We just have that email. So if you don't want to put your prayers in the comments, you don't have
for
to.
Anonymous use.
So, I don't know how long we've been speaking for. That's pretty much it, I think, unless you want to talk about something else.
Not unless you do. If it's
I'm trying to
got
think.
anything else on that list.
I have stuff in this same book, and it's like different things, different little verses, different sayings and stuff. Let me find a good one. I'm trying to find a good quote, right?
Here's one. Oh man, let me think about it. God is the ultimate mailman. He will not deliver your mail to someone else's door.
Ooh, that's a good one. Here's a good one too. And this is Max Lucado. He's like a genius when it comes to Christian literature and stuff. It says, no one can worry and pray at the same time.
That's true.
And that's just crazy. And speaking about Christian literature, actually, this is a cool thing.
I don't know books.
Yeah, I know. I know you don't really read, but I just thought this was cool. So, my dad is not at home right now because him and some other children's ministers worked out their own thing to where they can do a children's ministry conference. So they're doing a conference for people right now. But
At
the cool
church?
thing, not my church, another church. But the cool thing is the speaker that they have has written like 13 Christian books. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's insane. And he had to teach his own class, and it was just cracking me up last night because he said to me, "These people that are speaking, all of them are older than me, but they're all using slideshows, and I don't know how to do that stuff. You gotta make me a slideshow." So I had to stay up and make him a slideshow after work, and I was very tired. I stayed up until like 12:30, but it was worth it because people are gonna get something out of it, hopefully, about how to teach children. Yes, bro. So it's fine, dude. It's fine. Yeah, I got a job at Chick-fil-A.
I'm still a freeloader.
The Lord's Chicken Man.
For a little bit.
The best thing about it is you can openly talk about your faith, and that was the coolest thing last night. Was like the guy that was like doing our orientation. Me and this other kid, he goes to another school, but he was my same age, and he was like, "Tell a little bit about yourself," and I was like, "Well, I'm not really involved in any like extracurriculars, but I'm super open about my faith." Like, and then the other kid said, "I couldn't help but smile when he said that." Same here, except I do play football, but like, same here with the whole loving to go to church thing. So I don't really know who it was.
Because I know a dude that goes to Muscle Shoals and works there.
He doesn't go to Muscle Shoals. But it was just funny. He was a very nice guy. He texted me after, and he was just like, "It's nice meeting you. If you need to talk, you can text or call me." Like, it was cool.
This one arm is burning up.
Well, that's probably it. Wraps it up. You want to pray us out, man?
Sure. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for giving us breath in our lungs this morning. Thank you for letting us wake up another day and praise you, dear Lord. Amen. Love y'all guys. Peace.
Love you guys.